Mr. Pai, you mentioned in the past that startups have faced challenges when it comes to angel tax scrutiny,
Yes.
the restrictions on investments
Yes.
by endowments. Those policies, have they impacted the growth of deep tech startups as well? Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. We want more funding. We want endowments to make the funding. Universities have got endowment. Why can't they put 5% of the total endowment into funds? Allow them to do that. Why can't they put 5% into startups across universities, wherever they got the money? Leave it to them. Their investment pattern doesn't allow them to do that. They're not allowing them. Why? Let the university decide. It's their money. If they surplus money, they let them do it. And RBI, harasses AIFs, goes on changing regulations. Now they're threatening to penalize them because they issue partly paid units, saying they're like partly paid shares. So you cannot issue them. You are contravening the law. Whereas the regulations do not talk about partly paid units, because all around the world, you issue partly paid units and the units get fully funded in about 3 to 4 years. They don't understand the industry. They want to create their own thing, or they want to penalize. And when the companies, when startups are sold and money has to be remitted, you should know the horror stories that happen in remitting money, getting in money, remitting money to the RBI. We told them have a process like funding, like investing in the stock market, which is done very easily. They still are not worked in it. And the regulations are very vague in many areas. You write to them, they don't even reply. You have to hire the big four to walk the corridors and do. In my fund, we had 3 or 4 companies with re-domiciled to the US because after writing to RBI for 1 year, they didn't get a reply.
Yes.
What do you want to do? I mean, Piyush Goyal knows this. We have met him much earlier, spoken to him. When did the angel tax go? Last year. We've been working to remove the angel tax for 8 to 9 years. It was done by the earlier UPA. I met
So
the
how is the track record, Mr. Pai? When you do that comparison, because he's saying the Congress has done much worse, and he's saying that their government has done. So even if you talk about Startup India and the project, their achievements, are you able to see the differences?
Absolutely. UPA did nothing. UPA did nothing. The startup industry largely started after Prime Minister Modi gave a vision: Digital India, Startup India, Stand Up India. Then he had a big event in Vidyan Bhavan. I was there, where for the first time, he put the startup founders on the stage and honored them. It was a big move. Then they started the 10,000 crore fund. Then it fizzled out. And then Piyush Goyal started an advisory board where I was a member. We sat down and worked on many things. Then they put that silly angel tax. And the angel tax harassment started. We worked with the finance ministry to remove it. They did not remove it. I went to the PMO. They amended the law 2 or 3 times. Didn't impact. I met Subhash Garg as the finance secretary and told him he agreed with us. He said, amend it. Again, it did not work. I met Nirmala Sitharaman multiple times to do that earlier. She just listened. She didn't do anything. We asked her many times. I mean, look, we are getting harassed. I've been investing for 13 years. We got a portfolio of 500 startups out of 50 are deep tech startups. We have put our own money to work. We know the difficulty is sympathetic.
Yes. So while I accept those points, Mr. Pai, what do you sense is the current status of our startup ecosystem? We seem to be undervaluing the contributions. At least that's what we're hearing from these founders. Yes. The service-oriented startups maybe, but Zeptos and Swiggies of the world, they have contributed. So are we undervaluing them with the Union Minister making these comments? Is that what you're saying?
The Commerce Minister should not have made the remarks about the delivery companies because they're doing a great job. They got great technology. It's not easy to do 50 lakh, 25 lakh transactions in a day. They're all doing a great job. They're using AI. They're developing cloud technologies. They got fantastic technologies. They're creating 1 million jobs across the industry. And that is not easy. Which government organization created 1 million jobs? He says delivery boys, yeah, that's the job that is there. They get paid reasonably well. It's a part-time job like Ola, Uber. Yes, that's the nature of the beast. There's no doubt.
But Mr. Pai, you'd projected that by 2025, India is going to have more than 1 lakh startups and they'll create a value of $1 trillion. You think we're on track to meet that projection?
No, we have now created $600 billion so far. I think 2025 year end, we could be 650, 700 because in the last 3 years, we've not got money coming in. Last 3 years, we've been having $10, $12 billion, whereas 3 years ago, we got $42 billion. We need more money coming in. Government must ease the regulations for money to come in. When they sell to take money out. And I think a lot of work has to be done by the government. RBI is very oppressive, tyrannical to all the startups. When the industry goes and meets them, they push you around. They just look down upon you. They're not there to help you. They're there to control you. This control mentality is ruining this country.
So in this kind of scenario, you tell us which sector holds the most promise right now if we have to push our innovation agenda?
Look, deep tech sector has the greatest potential, but is long term. It takes 5, 10 years to do. We need more capital. Biotechnology is deep tech, and we need many more. Genomics is deep tech, we need many more. And these delivery companies and cloud technologies and hyper cloud, we need many more. In chip design, we are the global experts because we got 350,000 people working in Bangalore in chip design, testing, and embedded software. Now we have to invest in small chip design companies who can make great stuff. Now semiconductor fab companies, not the fab companies, but the packaging companies are coming up, and they're going to use our talent. So we're going to see this only happening now. When did the semiconductor fab companies come into being? 2 years ago. Before that, what was there? Why were we not doing
If that
this?
has to happen, Mr. Pai, what is that one policy change that you would implement immediately to support the startups?
I will do three things. First, I will say that I'm going to invest 10 to 20,000 crores every year for the next 5 years. And I'm going to give the money through a fund of fund and invest in some larger them. I'm going to put money to work in R&D with other agencies. So that will really change the circumstance. Government of India spends 50 lakh crores. Spending 15, 20,000 crores is nothing for them. They can easily do to build the country. Second, I will change the regulations to allow long-term investors like LIC and the pension funds to invest, incentivize them to invest. I'll change the regulations so the market opens up, they'll be able to invest, and I'll make sure that the regulations are changed. And third, I will make sure the RBI regulations are changed to make money come in, and when the money is sold, goes out, stop the harassment of AIFs, ease the regulation, discuss with the AIF industry, and help them out to simplify many things so there's no fear of doing things, and work with the banks to make sure the banks don't harass you because RBI harasses them. I'll work with SEBI to ease the regulation for AIFs because the last 3 years, too many regulations have come, too many controls have come.
Yes.
AIF investors are sophisticated investors. They don't require SEBI, any protection. Retail investors require protection. For the last 3 years, too many regulations have come. I will do these three things immediately if I was the minister for the government or the prime minister were to ask me for anything to do.
If those three things are done, Mr. Pai, very quickly, do you think India can surpass China in tech innovation by 2030 like Vijay Shekhar Sharma is suggesting?
No, look, China is $19 trillion. Even if they grow at 4%, they will add 800 billion every year. We have 4 billion. We grow at 10%, we'd add 400. China invests every year 40% of GDP. What is 40% of GDP for China? That's about $8 trillion they invest. How much do we invest? $1 trillion. So let's be realistic. Yes, we'll be much bigger. We'll be on the way to do many things that we can't do, but we cannot be a China. We cannot be a China. We don't have the money. We don't have the willingness. We don't have the government policy. We don't have the focus in this country.
But why do you say we don't have the policy and we don't have the willingness? Because this government is pro-deregulation, isn't it, Mr. Pai?
The government talks about deregulation, but what have they done with RBI? RBI has not done any reforms in the last many years. They still got the 1999 FEMA Act, 1999, I think. And they threaten you, they'll send you to ED. They don't reply to letters. We want reforms. We want regulations to take this country to $10 trillion by 2032, 2033. We cannot work with regulations. We took the country to $2 trillion.
Right.
We were $2 trillion in sometime in 2014. We can't work with the regulations. We require different regulations. Let me give you another data point. Right now, we're having a surplus on service exports, $18 to $20 billion. That's $240 billion. We have a trade deficit in goods of $270 billion. Next 2 or 3 years, the surplus on services and the deficit on goods could match. That's the time when the Indian currency could become stronger and much more valuable and will not depend on flow of capital to come in for the country to meet a deficit. That's going to happen. For God's sake, ease us out. Ease out everything else. Don't make us fight with two hands tied behind our back. Put little bit more funding. Help our young people grow and make them positive. Help the deep tech sector. Have big programs and get the private sector involved. Don't leave it to the bureaucrats to go on and on. The C&AG will make everybody's life miserable. The person that FA, financial person in every department will make a life miserable with government procedures. We need something like the Space Tech Fund, Space Tech Policy, right? That made a difference.
Right.
We need something like that. We need a Pawan Goenka in every of these sectors to work with the government. For example, when the 2015 fund started, I sat on the investment committee.
No, fair enough.
Yes, I sat there. We met the regulations. SIDBI worked. We gave money to 45, 50 funds, and we grew it.
Yes.
In 2 years, I was asked to leave. I was not, my tenure was
No,
not
yes,
extended.
of course, one recalls, yes. Indeed, but you're making some very valid points, Mr. Pai, and Indian startups, they have made these remarkable strides. We don't want to take away from the contributions that they've made in India's growth story. There is still a compelling case to diversify, to deepen our focus on deep tech innovations, balancing service-oriented entrepreneurship with all these technological advancements. Those would be pivotal in shaping India's future, and we appreciate all that you're saying in terms of the policy push that is required, the willingness that is required, and the capital that is required as well.